all you golf enthusiasts. How did obesity start on the golf course? Stay tuned.
Hey, it's Shawn coming at you from PlanetFitnessAlberta.com. How is everybody today? I'm coming at you today and I'm going to make a big, strong statement today. Obesity was created on the golf course. Well, what does that mean? I was talking to one of my golfing buddies today. It's a beautiful day and he wanted me to golf. Haven't done that for a while, but I said, you know what, I want to go on the golf course today. And I made the dumb statement, obesity started on the golf course. You know what? It's a true statement. And I want to keep you in tune. And I'm going to come back and tell you why obesity truly did start on the golf course. That 64% of us here in Canada that are overweight right now. How does golf relate to obesity? Well, stay tuned. I'll be right back to you. Shawn coming back at you. And again, how do I go about telling you that your favorite game, golf, has created obesity? I'm not saying it created obesity, I'm saying when it happened and where. I'm not going to just tell you that golf on the golf course is where obesity was all created. I'm going to tell you what golf course, I'm going to tell you what year, and I'm going to tell you exactly the details of what happened. And honestly, I wish that this was not a true story. I wish that this was a fable, but it's not a fable. 1955, many years ago, obesity started worldwide. Not just in Canada, where 64% of us are fat. Quite honestly, fat is the word. You know, obesity has been created, all the diseases that come along with it. And a lot of you have heard me, for a long time now, many, many years, talking about the obesity epidemic in Canada and how I've traveled Western Canada and how I've fought it all these years. Well, what I'm telling you today is a little bit different because I'm telling you that I can tell you where obesity started, I can tell you why it started, and I can give you a really good really good idea of why you don't feel well, why you're lethargic, why you're tired, why you spend on the average about $50,000 in a lifetime to lose this little thing called fat and to get well, and why you're really misinformed on how to do that. Well, let's get back to this golf situation where I'm blaming golf. I'm not blaming golf. I love the game of golf. I'm not great at it, but I love the game of golf. What I'm saying is that in 1955, an event happened. And this was in a world that I want to take you back on a little bit of a journey. This is a world that I'd really love to wish that we all lived in right now, and I'd love to go back to. Because in 1955, what I've been told by all the research that we do, the information that we do every day here at Planet Fitness, it was a really different world. We're talking about 79% of all Americans loved their president. Their president was a pretty good guy. There's no doubt about it, Mr. Eisenhower.
America's hero, America's favorite president, suffered a heart attack while golfing. And again, they didn't mention four packs of cigarettes that Mr. Eisenhower smoked every day. But that didn't stop the Sugar Research Foundation from paying Harvard University scientists to lie. If it isn't the truth, they lie. We blamed saturated fat. Even eggs got the blame. Saturated fat was labeled the evil one, and the sugar ran rampant. Instead of pointing fingers at the sugar, fingers were all pointed to saturated fat. Yes, people, it all really happened. 4 packages of cigarettes daily weren't talked about. The research pointed to everything towards saturated fat, and we all lived it. The low-fat generation of obesity begun, all on that golf course that day.
You might have heard that we have presidents in the past. Well, Americans had presidents. We have prime ministers. That's another story. But again, Mr. Eisenhower was loved. He was really loved by the people. As I said, 79% approval rating. Not only that, the economy was booming in America. There was no problems. It was like at a calm. The stock market was really on a 7-year high, just a huge stock market. It all changed within 24 hours. In fact, I always think the world kind of fell off the cliff in 1955. Right after that, $14 billion heart attack. It's been called the $14 billion heart attack, in past articles because again, $14 billion. 24 hours later, the world changed. The stock market in one day, one of the biggest losses in one day, 24 hours after Mr. Eisenhower on that Cherry Hill golf course on that Saturday felt like he had a little bit of indigestion. It turned out that they thought it was indigestion, but it turned out to be a little bit more serious than that. And obesity was created that day. And that's going to be a kind of a story that I want to tell you of what happened and what really people were up to with this craziness about fat becoming the culprit. The studies that were done after Mr. Eisenhower had his heart attack, because a lot of people got to understand this president was beloved. You know, there really was science. When I say science, bad science done. I'm going to bring in the word Harvard. Harvard scientists were paid by a little company that I like to call the same initials that I run, SRF. They will call it the SRF, the Sugar Research Foundation. They paid 50 years ago. They can't really find these documents that they really did anything wrong, but we all know that something drastically happened after Eisenhower's heart attack. Everyone in the industry knows that sugar was added to the diet and fat was created as the culprit of obesity. So I'm going to put my glasses on. I want to see this right, because for the next little segment here, I'm going to read to you, I'm going to quote to you 1955, where we all been talking about what happened with Eisenhower, and nobody ever talks about the fact that the man smoked 4 packages of cigarettes, cartons or whatever, packages of cigarettes every day, and all the things that were going on in his life. There was very little exercise other than, you know, his golf game. But again, nobody ever talks about that. What they want to do is they want to talk about this. In 1955, 1 year before Mr. Eisenhower's heart attack, he did live, he did survive, but before that heart attack, 1 year before, let me read to you a quote by the president of the SRF, the Sugar Research Foundation, 50 years ago, said this. And this is from the president, and I want to read this from the president now of the Sugar Foundation, Research Foundation, in fact, that paid Harvard, yes. If Americans could be persuaded, if we can persuade the Americans to eat lower fat, okay, they have a low-fat diet, for the sake of their health, they would need to replace that fat, the essential macronutrient fat, with something else. Then he went on to say that basically a third more sugar would be sold. Can you really understand what he just said here? He basically said that if we could convince the Americans, a year before Eisenhower had a heart attack, the president of the Sugar Foundation, Research Foundation, made a statement telling the people that he was talking to, if we could just convince Americans, you Americans, you're pretty smart. Canadians, I'm not so sure right now. I'm sorry I say that. But if we could convince everybody that, you know, sugar's okay, and then we got to take the fat out of the diet, the essential macronutrient, that we could sell a third more of this stuff. A year later, Eisenhower has his heart attack. Now, that is not a theory. These are not things that I'm bringing at you. That's theories. These actually happened. This is things that have happened. That have happened for the last 50 years. And this industry, this whole fitness industry, is driven off the fact that you don't know this. You don't know that the essential fatty acid, something you need in your body, protein and fat was taken from you, replaced by toxic sugar. I've talked about it a lot. I'm passionate about this, guys. I'm not, you know, these videos probably aren't really, you know, the most upbeat videos sometimes, but the reality is that a lot of you out there are losing your health. You're losing a lot of other things beside your health. Yes, you're not just fat, but you're lethargic, you're tired. And quite honestly, it's time to stop it. It's time to just understand that they know what they're doing. This whole industry, the whole industry is fueled by you not understanding that you need fat in your diet. When you take fat out of your diet, you're going to get hungry. This is all about insulin. You've heard me say a lot. They didn't just take the fat out, they made you hungry. And this whole nonsense, about $50,000 was spent, you know, by the RSF, by the Research Foundation for Sugar, and they paid Harvard's, they paid them bottom line to cover everything up. And it gets a lot more than this in the book you're going to read, you know, basically uncovering the industry, Planet Fitness Inc., you know, exposing the fitness industry and talking. We're going to talk in great detail. We're going to talk to a few scientists. We're going to talk to a lot of people about what sugar really is and how this whole industry, my friends, is being manipulated by you not understanding what I'm telling you right now. I hope a few of you actually do, and I hope a few of you take this quite seriously. Always go on to planetfitnessalberta.com. Again, I love golfing, and I'm not blaming golfing for obesity, but I'm telling you that's where it's created. Do the research for yourself. Look around. 64% of us today are overweight. And then again, the new word obesity. There's many, many, many people out there trapped in that issue and that problem. We're always here to help you. PlanetFitnessAlberta.com. And that's Shawn. Have a good day.